Hello and welcome. I'm so excited you guys are here. This is a funny story. We're going to make sure that this is working. Come on, computer. All right. Yes, we are live. We are actually in the broadcast tree in. Okay. Let me tell you a little bit about what's happened. This has been an interesting adventure with us. It's so funny. This lady is amazing, and I'm so excited to have her because when you have lots of things that happen that it's going to be something really good. Okay, the lawnmower is going. We had previously planned to record this early and drop it today, so I had us on recording instead of live, which is why we're 5 minutes late. So I mean, it's just one of those kind of days. And so let me tell you about this amazing woman. Her name is Trienne Topp, and I want to put an R in there so bad. I don't know. I want it to be Trienne Topp. Okay.
Anyway, everybody does. It's fine.
Is a leadership performance coach and restaurant operating partner with 28 years experience in network marketing, clothing, retail, and restaurant operations. She believes commitment to personal development, work culture, and service are the three pillars that take business and lifestyle to the next level. I love that. Commitment to
I'm here.
Okay, there we are. Okay, yeah. Very good. That was weird. It just started doing these little circles in the middle. Okay.
I tell you what, we've got some pure magic going on in here between us because and I have to give, you said that you go live every week at noon on Wednesday. And so I appreciate people being so patient with us today. But I also can we just give a shout out for you? I mean, with us that try to come on here and make this impact using this technology, and we're just like, whatever, it'll work. What's supposed to happen will work. And it's like, can you get that kind of commitment anywhere? That's leadership.
Right. Oh my goodness, that was funny. Okay, so take it away, ma'am. I cannot wait for you to share with us today. So go ahead.
Yeah. So when we first started talking about coming together, I wanted you to come into my group and talk about, image transformation, which I strongly understand going through my years of retail. I had 10 years specifically just in retail, with a company that I traveled and helped open new stores and build new teams while I was also building that team development in my own store. Because like I said in my bio, it's all about personal development, your culture, and your customer service. So not only were we trying to do that in our own boutique, but then we were traveling, trying to reopen these other ones and build these teams and get them to understand that in a 7-day period, right? So how do you make that happen? Well, a lot of it comes down to what I share mostly with my clients and in our community is it's about you as a leader. It's about creating what I call the leadership lifestyle. So everything starts and ends with us. We know that, but I don't always believe that we take the opportunity to really step back, let ourselves get self-aware and go, okay, it starts with me. This is what's happening right now. This is what I want. This is what's happening now. How am I going to go in here and fill in the gaps? I think those gaps are what we just go, oh, well, whatever's meant to happen will happen. Well, that's not the way it works. If you have a vision and you're working towards that vision, if you decided, oh, I just want to have a Facebook community. Okay, well, here I am right now. Here's my Facebook community that I envision. Now you got to do stuff in between, or you're just on here at noon every Wednesday talking to yourself. Am I right?
Right.
So I think for me, it started with vision boards. And interesting story how I started with a vision board. I was completely against the social medias. I was against the Facebooks. I was like, I'm not doing MySpace. I'm not doing any of that. And when I got married, or when I got onto Facebook, because my mentor at the time was like, you have to start networking with people outside of your current group in the community. I got on there and I went to name my page just like everybody else. And with a name like Trienne, I should not have to worry about it being taken. As far as I was concerned, no one else had my name. So I go to get on there and it says, you can't name your page because it's already taken. I'm like, the heck it is. So I get on there, do some sleuthing, trying to figure out. And I come across a woman who's about 5 years older than me, who is also named Trienne. And coincidence, maybe, I don't know, there is a Trienne's winery in France. So
Yay.
So I reach out to this woman and I'm like, hey, I don't know a lot of people named Trienne. Tell me about yourself. And we just have a conversation back and forth. It was just really lovely. It was really nice. So then about a week later in the mail at the restaurant that I was working at the time, I get, which we actually own today, I get a package in the mail and it's the book, The Secret. And in the book, she writes a little message that says, everyone needs a little magic in their life, especially people named Trienne. And I'm like, that's just awesome that she did that. And we were going away for the weekend, my husband and I and some friends. And I was like, I'm going to take this book with me. I'm going to take the opportunity to read it. And we were not married at the time, and we'd been together for 6 years. I feel like it's like a rom-com. I'm like, we've been together for 6 years. So we go away on this trip and I decide I'm going to sit by the fire and I'm going to read this book. Well, in that book, she talks about vision boards and how whatever you put on the vision board doesn't necessarily have to be spelled out. It doesn't have to mean anything to anybody else but you. And I'm like, we're getting married next September. Now, this was September of 2008 or 2009. And I'm like, we're getting married in September of 2010 on the 5th. It'll be great because everybody can come in for Labor Day weekend. We'll get married on Sunday. Everybody go home on Monday. We'll be good. So I write on a little Post-it piece of paper, 9510. So I get home and I decide I'm going to make a vision board, and I put this big cork board up in our kitchen and I put that little Post-it note on there. So my husband, boyfriend at the time, goes to walk out of the house and he walks past, and one day he says, what does 9510 stand for? And I was like, that's the day we're getting married. And he says, you don't even have a ring yet. I said, well, you have till 9410 to get me a ring. So a month later, we go into a jewelry store. We talk about, what ring I might be looking at if I was looking at a ring to help him decide, whatever. And I'm like, it's coming. I know it's coming. 2 months later, I get home and he goes through the whole shebang. I'll save you the story. But he says, proposes, and then he says, you haven't even said yes, like 5 minutes later. And I said, do you want me to say yes to a wedding I've already been planning for 3 months? Because I was convinced. I was like, we're getting. So we were married on 9/5/10 because of the book, The Secret. And I have just really taken, the vision board process and really decided at that point, I was like, if I want something to happen in my life, I'm just going to have to take some leadership over it, some control, some intention, if you mind saying that. And we're just going to make it happen. So creating the leadership lifestyle is kind of what I've lived by since that point. And it's been all about, every choice, every decision, from what I wear today to what I eat, to what I drink, to who I spend my time with, to what I'm reading, to what I'm allowing on my social feed. It's all because I'm intentionally creating this life. And I'm super passionate about that, in case you can't tell.
Yes. Yes.
So in the book that we were in together, I wish I had that book with me. I'm sure that you have it. But in that book, my chapter is specifically about taking what I call a personal growth plan, or a PGP. Yeah, there she is. I'm in the armpit at one of them, but then I'm all the way down in the bottom corner. And I was like, oh, there I am as you turn the cover.
I had it marked. I don't know. I think anyway, go ahead. Go,
Yeah,
keep
that's
talking. I'm
okay.
sorry.
Yeah, so what I did in my chapter was I really talked about taking what's called a PGP or personal growth plan and looking at those different 7 areas of our life, the 7 Fs, and saying, okay, if I was going to rate myself on a scale of a 1 to a 10, 1 being I don't even know what this word means, 10 meaning I'm hitting it out of the park, where am I and where do I want to be? And if I was going to take something as simple as finances, I'll use that. And I really want to lead myself through my finances. What would that mean? So at that case, I gave myself like a 4 in my finances because I had like a want behind it, but I wasn't understanding investing. I was just putting money in my investment account. I wasn't understanding. I wasn't budgeting. I wasn't really taking leadership over where my money was going. I just knew I was bringing it in, right? So I said, okay, for me to get to a 10, what do I want? Well, I want to understand my investments. So I said, I want to understand my investments. I want to get myself on a budget. And I already knew I needed an accountability partner to do that. I just work better with a mentor. So I hired Kimberly Graham and I worked with her for 6 months, getting our budget straight, getting some long-term goals set, getting some debt set and paid off. And I was able to take myself then to what I would say is probably an 8 out of 10 because we're never perfect, right? We're always evolving. But you could do this in fashion. You could do this in relationships with your family. You could do this with your fitness. And you just honestly rate yourself with no judgment. It's just literally where do I want to be and where do I feel like I am right now? And then we do the steps to fill in the gaps. And it's in those gaps that I think people really create that leadership in themselves and that confidence that comes behind that.
I love that. Pamela Taylor just commented, great topic.
Oh,
Because
thank you.
I apologize. Can you hear that?
I love it.
Oh my word in heaven. Anyway, but seriously, this is so interesting because this is finances is one where I am working on now. And I don't know if you know Dr. Sharon Hope, but she is one that really works on manifesting and mindset and those kind of things. And it is amazing to me the power of our mind.
Mhm.
And you were talking about The Secret, and it that came into my life a long, long time ago. And but somehow if we don't keep a mentor or we don't keep someone that keeps us accountable, and I think that's probably why I continue to stay with a coach, because you can lapse so easy. I mean, you could just go back into, and I was telling my husband that yesterday. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm listening to The Compound Effect. Have you read that book?
Yes, I love it. Darren Hardy, right?
Yes, and I
Yes.
had read it probably, and it was funny because I was playing it in the car. And my husband's like, "Honey, we've listened to this." I'm like, "I know, but listen to it now
Mhm.
because the difference, just small little things."
Mhm.
And another thing that happened yesterday is I went to a networking event outside of doing it online because everything I do is online, and this was an actual
Mhm.
physical thing. And one of the ladies I had never met before. This is the power of the 7-second impression right here.
Mhm.
Because she walked in, she was in a hooded sweatshirt, no makeup, shorts. Her countenance was aggravation. She was hacked off at the world. I had never met this woman before. And she walks in, and I was like, whoa. I mean, it was just like, I don't want her in my space. Like, I don't,
Mhm.
you know? And then another one walked in with the same attitude. And I told my husband, I said, when I walked away from there, I was like, I need to go take a shower because I don't allow that into my life. And that I think is so, so vital. And I love that you're bringing this up. So tell us how that you integrate it into, because I know a lot of women on here work full-time jobs. A lot of them have side businesses. A lot of them have full-time businesses. So how do you incorporate that into what you do at running a restaurant? That's got to be Because you
Sure.
deal with teenagers, don't you?
Oh, I sure do. I've got some 14, 15-year-olds that work for us. I'd say probably 10% of our crew are under 16. So real quick though, to go back to go into that networking event, because one of the things I teach on is our energy and influence. And I learned from Brendan Burchard this trick. When you walk into a room, and I know that you know this because you just emote this, right? So when you walk into a room, you can notice the person who walks into a network event and is like, here I am, here I am. Who needs to talk to me? And you notice the person that stops in the doorway for a second, changes their attitude and walks in and says, who am I here to meet? How can I help? How can I serve? Where are you? Right? So
Yes.
it's again those three pillars of personal development, culture, and service. It's not just for our restaurant, although those are my passion points when I'm helping small business. It's for us too, because that's a piece of customer service, those relationships, being intentional about that energy that we're giving off. So the restaurant is an interesting story as well. I actually started there when I was 16 and I worked there all through on and off through college. And then I moved my way after college up to the general manager position. And then I got recruited by a clothing retail company and went and worked for them for 10 years. So then after I worked for them, I got to a point, and you probably understand this, where I was so uncomfortable in the comfort of what I was doing. Like I wanted to I just itched all over to do more and impact more than the, 100 women or so that were coming into our store every day. So I said, I got this opportunity to teach on the college level at a community college, a class called service learning. And when I went to my district manager and I said, hey, this is something I'm interested in doing, but I'd have to go down to 38 hours instead of 40. She said, I don't think we're going to be able to do that. And I was like, okay, I'm putting in my month notice then, because I so badly was like, no, I am meant to do more. So I kind of got pushed into doing coaching and consulting. And it has evolved over the last 4 years. But I did go through a time frame right there where I was like, what am I going to do? So I spent the summer teaching. And then I spent the summer with my daughters at the time. It was a beautiful thing, but I also was like, what am I going to do? How is this going to work? Well, then that fall, my mentor from when I was 16 working at this restaurant was like, the restaurant that we used to work at just went up for sale. Are you interested? And I'm like, no, I don't want anything to do with that life. And then he said, well, I need someone who's close because he's a couple hours away as an operating partner. How do you feel about being my partner? And I was like, I will give it a go. So 4 years later, through COVID and all the stuff and things, we are still kicking along. It's a Ponderosa house, if anybody knows Ponderosa. We're evolving every day. We're getting better every day. And I really feel like that is because we really focus on personal development, culture, and customer service.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's vital because obviously when people have a vested interest in something, it makes such a difference. And you can tell, I'm always grateful to servers who go that extra mile. And I always make it worth their while because that is so unusual today, and I think we as women especially can make such a difference in when we're out and someone does go the extra mile, or even nowadays if they just go the mile.
Yeah, they just go the minimum.
Exactly. If they're just kind and do their job, that needs to be commended because there is so much there are so many people out there that don't. And so I commend you for that. That is amazing.
Well, and what's interesting right now is that the first question people will ask me is they're like, how's the restaurant? And I'll be like, we're trending against next year or last year. We're doing okay. We're staying the course. And their next question is, oh, it's hard to find staffing, isn't it? And I stop for a second and I say, actually, we haven't had trouble with staffing.
Interesting.
We haven't had trouble with staffing. And the reason we haven't had trouble with staffing is because of the way we approach our staff. They are not people that work for us. We treat them as we are a team that works together. I constantly I wouldn't say constantly, but I am often correcting my coaching team because I'm saying, no, they don't work for you. You are working together. So when you ask for something from them, it's not will you get, it's we're going to get. Right. So it's really changing the lingo when it comes to that type of environment where you just kind of expect people to almost be disposable. If you've ever worked in a restaurant industry, you understand that people are in and out, in and out. And I want them, if I hire them at 14, they most of the time will stay with us until they're 16 or 18 and go off to college because it is a safe environment where they feel valued and heard. And let's face it, kids these days don't have a lot of mentors. So I make sure that my team understands that we are there for them, but we also expect them to do their job because that's my job. Right. So
Right.
we just approach staffing and team building differently.
I think that is brilliant. And it's so funny. We went to a restaurant here. It's a chain, and we went on a um, spirit night where the schools were getting some of the money and all that. And
Mhm.
so there were 9 million children and parents. And the lady that came in behind me, she goes, "You don't have children, do you?" And I'm like, "How can you tell that?" And she's like, "Well, number one, you don't have kids with you. And number two, you are handling this very graciously, but your face says you're getting very aggravated." Because my
My
face,
face does not lie.
yeah, yeah, it doesn't. I mean, anything you want to know, it's right here. I just may as well say it. And I said, well, I will tell you, I love this restaurant because whoever manages it is, I said, the staff, even when they don't have staff, the staff is still kind. And she
Mhm.
goes, well, thank you. That's my husband. And she goes, he's been here since January and it has been a nightmare for him. And
Oh.
so I was like, I'm so thankful that I was led to say that because I mean, that was a God thing because, because he needed to hear that.
Mhm.
But it is, I mean, staffing here, people cannot get. And I think that's a very valid point that you bring out that it's the management, it's how you treat people. And I think that's just so you can tell it because it comes from the top down.
Well, and similar to like we were talking about the networking event, going back to that, as the manager or the owner, when I walk into the restaurant, I don't walk in and say, here I am. I'm the owner, da da da. I have served tables. I have closed that dish room. I have cleaned those toilets. I do the ordering. I say, hey, is there any tools that you need to do your job better? Is there anything you're missing? What do you think about the layout on the buffet today? I ask a ton of questions, and I similarly do that in my coaching. And part of the reason I do that is because it's not necessarily about people being great when we're there. It's are those people still great in our absence? That is true leadership because we
Mhm.
have taught them and empowered them that it is them, not us, that makes them great.
I love that. That is powerful.
Mhm.
That is powerful.
And if we
Well,
just think about
gang,
that one conversation at a time, one intentional conversation at a time.
and the fact that we can make a difference. I mean, your words are so powerful. You
Mhm.
don't realize. And that's a prayer I have every morning. It's like, Lord, bridle my tongue. Please don't let me be, don't let me say something today that will be offensive or be some that will crush someone because I never want to do that. And I think this is so vital, especially as women, to, and that's why I love bringing people like you on here because women as little girls, I mean, there yesterday or day before yesterday was National Mean Girl Day. I'm like, no, no, no,
Why?
no. We should not
Why?
be. No, yeah, I know, I know. But we're taught that as little girls are taught that, and it's like ingrained in us to do that. And I want as women to come together, especially at my age. I'm much older than you are, but especially at my age, to be able to have that building up. Find
Mhm.
something that you can. If you're going to say something negative, don't say it. If you're,
Mhm.
but only positive, or figure out a way to frame it so it's positive.
Mhm.
And Pamela's on here, and I know she struggles with this in her Facebook group, but I will say in our Facebook group, it's amazing. The women, and I'm very aware of who I let in because I want that building up. It's so
Mhm.
vital to have that. So
Yeah,
Anyway,
we teach in character education. That's my other job that I do during the school year. We teach in character education about reverse gossip. So if you don't want someone talking badly about you behind your back, then how can we start the trend of what we call reverse gossip, which is you talking good about somebody and you don't even know if they're ever going to hear it. But how good would you feel if you're like, "Oh yeah, last week I was talking to so and so, and they said that you guys worked on a project together and that it was you were very creative or you had great art skills or whatever it is." Because again, I have an 11-year-old and an 8-year-old. We are talking about very impressionable ages when it comes to girls and their confidence. And like you mentioned, Mean Girls, I let my 11-year-old watch the Mean Girls movie because I said, "You best not act like that."
mm-hmm. And you know, not having had children, I had my 5-year-old great niece lived with me for a little while with her mother, and I remember we went to the zoo. I got to be a whatever that's called, the person that takes them. So we rode over with two little girls and my great niece. And by the time I got there, I went over to the teacher and I said, "I'm not taking the little girls back. Give me two little boys because I will not put up with that." They literally had me in tears because they were so mean to my great niece. And I'm like, "Oh no, not in my car. That's not going to happen." And so she talked me down off the ledge. I mean, that kindergarten teacher taught me so much, but she was just one of those. I mean, that kindergartner teacher still is in contact with my 30-year-old niece. So she made such a difference in her life. And that again is one of the things, like for instance, you know, being in fashion and things like that. My niece would come out with like, you know, polka dot rain boots and a floral skirt and a pink tutu. And you know, I mean, her concoction, her outfits were horrendous. And in my family, you didn't do that. You know, dressed a certain way. You didn't go out. You had to be perfect. And I remember walking into kindergarten and Miss Susan said, "Oh, Allie, I love your originality. Your outfit is adorable." And she looked at my face and she goes, "Aunt Kim, don't you love her originality?"
And you're like, "I sure do."
Sure.
Yep.
But that was such an aha moment because her personality was showing through. And that's what I want to teach the women in my group is your personality needs to shine through. It needs to be you, but doing it from the heart of how can I serve you? How can I help you? What can I do for you? And when you're comfortable in your own body and your own self, then you can. And so I love that you've shared that today, Trienne. This was just so powerful. Thank you.
Yeah, great conversation. I really appreciate you having me on and inside the group. I think you have a great group. I love being in there so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Any last words? Do you have freebies, things that you want to offer to us? Are we going to put, I know we'll put your group in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I can make sure that I get that in the notes as well. But so I do a free vision board planner. It's vision board under an hour. And I use Canva to do it. It has a couple of very short videos that go with it. And then I actually keep my vision board as the backdrop on my laptop as my wallpaper. You can also have it on your phone. So I do have vision board under an hour. And then obviously, if you like more conversations like this, inside the Female Leader Headquarters is our Facebook group. And the Be That Create That Leadership podcast.
Terrific. Hey guys, I'm just curious, as you are watching this, if you would be interested in having Trienne come in and teach us on vision boarding, that might be really good.
Perfect timing. It's absolute perfect timing.
Yeah. Put in the comments that you're interested in that. Let me know. And I'll put up a post also and see what kind of feedback we get. That would be great. I would love that. So,
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you again so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You bet. Bye, guys.